My name is Tiana. I'm 35 years old, and I live in Atlanta, Georgia. And 3 months ago, at exactly 3 a.m., a single phone call shattered everything I thought I knew about my marriage, about the man I had been sharing my bed with for 8 years. When I picked up my husband's ringing phone that night, I expected maybe a work emergency, maybe a wrong number. But instead, a woman's voice, calm, cold, and bold, said 5 words that froze every drop of blood in my body. Put my husband on the phone. That moment flipped my entire life upside down. And what she told me next? Lord, I still can't believe I didn't see it. I still can't believe I let myself be that trusting, that blind, that stupid. But let me not jump ahead. I need to take you back to the beginning, back to when I truly believed my life was perfect, before it all collapsed around me, before I tell you how I uncovered my husband's double life, before I explain the lies, the betrayal, the sickening truth that had been right under my nose. I need you to go ahead and do something for me. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new. Turn on your notifications so you never miss a story, and comment below where you're watching from and what time it is right now. I want to know who's riding with me on this one, because trust me, you're going to want to stay until the very end. What I found out about my husband? It's worse than anything you think you can imagine. And the revenge I got? Oh, it was sweet. So get comfortable, grab your snacks, and let me take you back to the night my world cracked wide open. Let me tell you about Marcus Thompson, my husband, the father of my 2 beautiful children, the man I truly believed I'd grow old with. We met 9 years ago at a friend's barbecue here in Atlanta. And let me be honest, he was fine. Tall, dark-skinned, perfect smile, and he carried himself with this smooth confidence that pulled me right in. He walked up to me like he already knew I'd be his wife one day. And me? I fell for it. I fell for every word that slid out of his lying mouth. We dated for a year before he proposed. Big romantic gesture. Fancy restaurant downtown. Him dropping to one knee with a ring that sparkled like a whole galaxy. I said yes before he could even finish the sentence. I was that in love, foolishly, blindly in love. 8 years ago, we got married in a beautiful ceremony. All our family was there, and I remember standing there at that altar, looking at him, thinking I was the luckiest woman alive. I truly believed God had blessed me with the perfect man, a man who would protect me, love me, cherish me, and be faithful until death did us part. He promised all that, said it to me, to our families, to God, and I believed every syllable. For 8 years, I thought I was living the dream. We bought a beautiful home in a quiet neighborhood. We had 2 amazing kids, my daughter Aaliyah, who's 7 now, and my son, Marcus Jr., who's 5. I even named my son after his daddy, thinking this man was someone worthy of honor, someone my boy should look up to. God, I was so wrong. Marcus worked as a regional sales manager for a pharmaceutical company, or so he said. He traveled a lot, 2 or 3 times a month, but he always came home with gifts, always called to say goodnight, always told me he loved me and couldn't wait to be back with his family. And why wouldn't I believe him? He'd never given me a reason not to. Neighbors used to tell me how lucky I was. My own mother used to say she wished my father had been half the husband Marcus was. My girlfriends? Jealous. While they complained about their sorry excuses for men, I sat there thinking I hit the jackpot. Marcus brought me flowers just because, planned date nights, surprised me with jewelry for anniversaries. He played with the kids, helped with homework, even coached Marcus Jr.'s little league team when he was in town. He went to church with us every Sunday, held my hand, said amen at all the right moments. Everyone thought he was perfect. I thought he was perfect. But you know what they say, if something seems too good to be true, it usually is. I just never thought my marriage would prove that saying right. I never imagined the man lying next to me every night was living an entirely separate life. Whenever he walked out that front door, looking back, the signs were there. Little red flags I ignored because I didn't want to believe anything was wrong. I was lost in the fairy tale, refusing to see the truth staring me in the face. It started about a year ago. Small things at first, so small they barely registered. Marcus started keeping his phone face down all the time, said the screen lighting up was distracting. Then he changed his passwords. When I asked, he said work required it for security. Sounded reasonable, right? Why would I question it? He was my husband. I trusted him. Then the business trips started increasing. He used to travel maybe once or twice a month. Nothing unusual. But suddenly it was every week. Sometimes he'd be gone for 3 or 4 days at a time. He told me the company was expanding, that he was being considered for a big promotion, that he needed to grind now so we could enjoy the rewards later. And stupid me, I supported him. I told him I was proud of him. I held down the house, the meals, the kids, the bills, everything while he was gone, and I never complained. Not once, because I honestly believed he was doing all of this for us. That's when the late nights started too. He'd come home from the office at 9, 10, sometimes even 11 at night. He said there were deadlines, reports, meetings that just couldn't wait. He'd walk in exhausted, eat the dinner I kept warm for him, and pass out on the couch like he could barely keep his eyes open. I felt sorry for him. I thought my husband was working himself into the ground to provide for our family. I would rub his shoulders and tell him to slow down, and he'd kiss my forehead and say, "It'll all be worth it soon, baby." My friends didn't buy it. My girl Tanya told me it was weird how much he was traveling. My sister Denise said she didn't trust a man who was gone that often. But instead of listening, I defended him. I snapped at them for even suggesting Marcus might be doing something wrong. I told them they were jealous, that their relationships weren't as strong as mine. I swore up and down that Marcus loved me, that he'd never hurt me. Looking back, I pushed away the very people who were trying to protect me, and then the changes started happening. He suddenly became obsessed with the gym, getting in better shape than I'd seen him in years. He bought new cologne, new clothes, started caring more about his appearance overnight. And me? I thought he was doing it for me. I was flattered. I had no idea he was trying to look good for somebody else. Little inconsistencies started popping up too. He'd mention a restaurant in a city he supposedly wasn't in. He'd mix up details about trips he told me about. Once he said he was in Chicago for a conference, but when I called the hotel to leave him a message, they told me nobody by that name was staying there. When I asked him, he said the reservation must have been under the company name, and I believed him. I always believed him. Our intimacy changed too. We went from making love multiple times a week to barely once a month. He always had a reason: tired, stressed, preoccupied. I started wondering if something was wrong with me. I bought new lingerie, tried to spice things up, but nothing worked. He'd smile, kiss my hand, tell me he loved me, but he was exhausted. Meanwhile, I now know exactly where all his energy was going. There was one night about 6 months ago that should have woken me up. It was around 2 a.m. I reached for Marcus in bed, and he wasn't there. I found him in the living room texting someone, hunched over his phone like he was guarding it with his life. When I asked who he was talking to at that hour, he practically jumped out of his skin. He said it was a coworker about an urgent project. Then he put the phone away fast and came back to bed. I should have pushed. I should have demanded to see the phone. But I trusted him. God help me, I trusted my husband. And that trust? That was the biggest mistake of my life. Now, let me take you to the night everything changed, the night my entire world collapsed. I remember every second of it, like it's carved in my bones. It was a Tuesday night. The kids were asleep. Marcus had come home late from work again. He took a shower, crawled into bed around 11, and knocked out almost immediately. Nothing unusual. The man was always tired by then. I lay there beside him, watching him sleep, thinking about how much I loved him, how lucky I was. If I had known then what I know now, I wouldn't have been lying there admiring him. I would have been packing his damn bags. Around 3 a.m., a sound woke me up. At first, I couldn't place it. Then I realized it was Marcus's phone buzzing on the nightstand. Not one buzz, multiple. Over and over, like someone was calling nonstop. Marcus didn't move. That man could sleep through a hurricane. I swear, I should have ignored it. I should have rolled over and gone back to sleep, let it go to voicemail, left it alone. But I didn't. But something in me told me to pick up that phone. Call it intuition, call it God. Call it the universe trying to snatch the blindfold off my eyes. Whatever it was, it pushed me to reach over and grab that phone off the nightstand. The screen showed an unknown number. Normally, I would never answer my husband's phone in the middle of the night. That wasn't something I did. But that night, something felt off. Something in my gut was screaming for me to pick up, so I did. I put the phone to my ear and said, "Hello?" There was silence. A long, heavy pause. Then a woman's voice came through. Sharp, angry, ready for war, and the very first words out of her mouth made my whole heart stop. Put my husband on the phone. I just froze. I blinked into the darkness, trying to make sense of what I'd just heard. Surely she had the wrong number. Surely this was some kind of mistake. So I said, "I'm sorry. I think you've got the wrong," and she laughed. Not a nervous laugh, not a confused laugh, a laugh like she knew something I didn't, a laugh like she was laughing at me. Then she said the words that flipped my entire world upside down. "I'm not mistaken. I'm looking for Marcus Thompson, and I'm his wife." The room started spinning. My chest tightened. My breath got stuck somewhere between my lungs and my throat. My husband was lying right next to me, peacefully snoring, and some woman was on the phone claiming to be his wife? No, no, this had to be a joke. This had to be a prank. But something in her voice told me she was dead serious. I got out of bed and walked into the hallway because I didn't want to wake Marcus. Not yet. Not until I understood what was happening. My hands were shaking so hard, I nearly dropped the phone. What did you just say? I whispered. You heard me, she shot back. My name is Danielle Thompson. I've been married to Marcus for 3 years. We have a 2-year-old son together. And I just found your number in his phone, listed under K, with a heart emoji. So tell me, who the hell are you? I had to lean against the wall to keep myself from collapsing. This could not be real. This could not be happening. I had been married to Marcus for 8 years. We had 2 children together. Our wedding photos were hanging on the walls of the very house I was standing in. And now, some woman was telling me she was his wife, too. I'm Keisha, I finally managed to say. I've been married to Marcus for 8 years. We have 2 kids. I don't know who you are or what kind of game you're playing, but you need to stop. There was a long, shaky pause on the other end. When Danielle spoke again, her voice didn't sound angry anymore. It sounded hurt, confused, shattered, just like mine. 8 years? She said quietly. That's not possible. I've been with Marcus for 5. He told me he had never been married before. He told me I was his first wife. And that's when it hit me. That's when the truth slammed into my chest so hard, I could barely breathe. She wasn't lying. She wasn't playing games. She wasn't crazy. She was just as much a victim as I was. My husband, the man I loved and trusted for almost a decade, had been living a double life. A whole other marriage, a whole other family, a whole other identity in another city. I slid down the wall until I was sitting on the floor, tears pouring down my face. I could hear Danielle crying too, trying her hardest to hold it together. 2 women, hundreds of miles apart, both married to the same man, both discovering the truth at 3 a.m. on a random Tuesday. Where are you? I asked her. Memphis, she said. He told me he travels to Atlanta for work, and suddenly, everything, every single thing, made sense. The business trips, the late nights, the missed birthdays, the canceled plans, the excuses. He wasn't working. He wasn't stressed. He wasn't grinding for his family. He was in Memphis with his other wife and his other child, living an entire second life, like we didn't even exist. I wanted to scream. I wanted to march into that bedroom and shake him awake and demand answers. But Danielle said something that stopped me cold. Wait, she said. Before you confront him, let's talk. Let's compare notes, Danielle said. Because if he's been lying to both of us all this time, I want to know everything. Every single lie. And then, I want to make him pay. Something in her voice hit me deep. This woman wasn't my enemy. She was my partner in crime now. We had both been blindsided by the same man. And instead of tearing each other apart, we could take him down together. So I agreed. I crept back into the bedroom, grabbed my phone off the dresser, and tiptoed downstairs to the kitchen. Marcus didn't budge. He had no idea his perfect little double life was about to collapse like a house of cheap cards. Danielle and I talked until sunrise. We compared everything, every lie, every excuse, every business trip, every late night, every suspicious slip-up we'd both shrugged off. It was like putting together a puzzle that suddenly revealed a picture we should have seen years ago. She told me her story first. She met Marcus 5 years ago at a business conference in Memphis. Same job title, same smooth talk, same charm, except he left out one tiny detail. He already had a whole wife and 2 kids in Atlanta. He pursued her hard, made her feel special, made her feel chosen. Sound familiar? Because that's exactly the script he used on me. They dated for 2 years before he proposed. She said it was romantic, a surprise trip to Miami, him dropping to one knee on the beach. She had no idea he'd already done that exact proposal routine for me years earlier. They got married in a small ceremony with just close friends and family. She wore a white dress, cried happy tears, thought she had found her forever, just like I did. Then she got pregnant. She told me Marcus was ecstatic, talking about fatherhood like it was his first time. He acted like she was giving him his very first child. Meanwhile, he already had 2. He already had a daughter and a son he came home to whenever he wasn't with her. And the part that really sent my soul into orbit? Her son's name is Marcus Jr. too. Yes. This man had 2 sons, both named after him, with 2 different women who had no clue the other existed, the audacity, the disrespect, the pure nerve of this man to duplicate his entire family like we were interchangeable pieces in his twisted little game. Danielle said his schedule with her matched what I experienced almost exactly. He'd be home for a few days, then disappear for work. Missed birthdays, holidays, milestones, always with the same excuse. But now we knew the truth. When he wasn't with her, he was with me. When he wasn't with me, he was with her. He had been juggling 2 wives, 2 homes, 2 children named after him, and both of us completely in the dark. The more we compared, the worse it got. The phone habits, the deadlines, the business trips that didn't line up. We had both noticed the same red flags, asked the same questions, and received the same rehearsed explanations. This man had been perfecting his lies like a damn profession. But then things got even worse. As we were talking, Danielle said something that made my stomach twist. She said sometimes Marcus got late-night texts from someone he claimed was a coworker, but one night she caught a glimpse of the name on the screen. Jasmine. When she confronted him, he said Jasmine was just a colleague, and she should stop overreacting. Jasmine, I repeated. He's never mentioned a Jasmine to me. We both fell silent, because the same awful thought hit us at the same time. What if it wasn't just him and me? What if it wasn't just the 2 of us he married? What if there were more? Danielle dug into his phone records, something she had access to through their shared plan. And what she found made both of us sick. There was a 3rd woman, a woman named Jasmine. She lived in Birmingham, Alabama. They weren't married, as far as we could tell, but they had been seeing each other for at least a year, and suddenly, it was clear. Marcus didn't just have a double life, he had a triple one. She was probably sitting at home right now, completely unaware, thinking she had a loyal boyfriend who adored her, never imagining that he had 2 wives and 2 entire families hidden in different states, 3 women, 3 cities, 3 separate lives. Marcus wasn't just lying. He was running a whole operation like some kind of undercover agent. And the worst part? He pulled it off. For years, without any of us having the slightest clue. The precision, the manipulation, the double and triple lives. It was almost impressive. Almost. If it hadn't shattered our worlds. By the time the sun rose, I felt like I had cried every tear my body was capable of producing. But underneath all that grief, something else was forming. Slowly, steadily, dangerously. Anger, rage, a fire I didn't even know I had in me. The sadness was turning into a weapon. And Danielle? She was right there with me. Every word she spoke, every lie we uncovered, fueled her fury too. That morning, we made a decision, one that changed everything. We were not going to confront him alone. We were not going to fall into his traps, let him twist our emotions, or let him perform his way out of the truth. We were going to gather evidence, build a case, and then take him down together. We would make him lose everything, just like he had taken everything from us. Our safety, our trust, our belief in love, all the pieces he shattered so casually. I'll be in touch, Danielle said before hanging up. Don't let him know anything is different. Act normal. Pretend everything is fine. Can you do that? I looked toward the bedroom door, where my husband, my lying, cheating, secret family-having husband, was still sleeping like a man with a clean conscience. Could I pretend? Could I smile at him? Sleep beside him? Cook for him? Let him kiss me like nothing had changed? Yes, I said. I can do that. For as long as it takes. The next few weeks were pure hell. Every morning, Marcus kissed me goodbye, like he hadn't destroyed my entire reality. Every night, he told me he loved me with the same voice he used to lie to 2 other women. He played with our children, like he wasn't a fraud, living 3 different lives. Every second of it made my stomach turn. But I kept going. I had to. This wasn't just about heartbreak anymore. This was strategy. I watched him the way he had watched us for years without us knowing. I took notes. I tracked everything, every business trip, every late night, every excuse. Then I would call Danielle. 9 times out of 10, the dates didn't line up. If he told me he was in Charlotte, he was actually in Memphis. If he told Danielle he was in Nashville, he was with me. If neither of us had him, he was probably with Jasmine. His stories weren't just lies. They were a mess of contradictions he'd told so often he couldn't keep them straight anymore. Then, I went through our bank statements. That's when the rage almost swallowed me whole. Two households, two sets of bills, two families being funded with money I thought was going toward our future. Restaurant charges in Memphis, shopping trips in Birmingham, hotel rooms on nights he swore he was sleeping at the office. Every line on those statements was another knife twist. The evidence didn't just pile up, it screamed. My husband had been betraying me for years, and he'd done it without a hint of guilt. Danielle was doing the exact same thing on her end. She found charges for flowers and jewelry she had never received. Restaurant bills in Atlanta on nights he claimed he was traveling for work. He had been spoiling me while lying to her, spoiling her while lying to me, and only God knows what he was buying for Jasmine. But then we uncovered something that made our blood boil even hotter. Marcus had been using company money to fund his double, no, triple, life. Fake expense reports, inflated mileage, corporate card swipes for hotel rooms, and airplane tickets that had nothing to do with work. This man wasn't just a liar. He was a criminal. He was stealing from his job to finance the chaos he created in our lives. I documented everything. Screenshots of bank statements, credit card transactions, text messages, calendar entries that didn't line up with the stories he told me. I saved everything to a hidden folder on my phone, backed it up to the cloud, and even printed hard copies to store in a safe deposit box at my mother's bank. I wasn't taking chances. Not with a man who had proven he could juggle 3 lives with Olympic-level precision. I refused to give him the chance to erase the truth. Every night, I'd lie in bed next to him, staring at the ceiling while he snored beside me. I replayed every lie he'd ever told, every "I love you," every promise of faithfulness, every moment he made me feel like I was his one and only. And somewhere in Memphis, I knew Danielle was probably lying awake doing the same thing. And Jasmine, poor Jasmine, was blissfully unaware that her devoted boyfriend had 2 wives and a stack of secrets taller than a skyscraper. The rage kept me awake, but it also kept me steady, focused, sharp. I wasn't going to let this man walk away from what he'd done. I was going to take everything from him, just like he had taken everything from me. The hardest part was pretending in front of my kids. They adored their father. Every time he walked through the door, they ran to him like he hung the moon. They had no idea that the man they loved so completely was living a lie. But they were too young to understand, too innocent. And I wasn't going to let Marcus's sins stain their childhood. Not yet. 3 weeks after that 3 a.m. phone call, Danielle and I agreed. It was time. We had enough evidence to bury Marcus 10 times over. We knew his lies, his schedule, his finances, his movements. There was nothing left to uncover. All that remained was the confrontation. We planned it down to the minute. Danielle would fly into Atlanta on a Friday afternoon, one of the days Marcus always claimed he was at work until 7. She'd come straight to my house, and together, we'd wait for him. He thought he had the whole weekend to play devoted husband before making another excuse to slip away to Memphis. But not this Friday. This Friday, he would walk through that front door and find both of his wives waiting for him. The day Danielle arrived, my nerves were shot. I sent the kids to my mother's house and told her I needed some alone time with Marcus. She smiled, thinking she was doing us a favor, thinking she was helping us rekindle something. If only she knew. When Danielle knocked, I froze for a second. This was the woman my husband had vowed his fake life to. The woman he lied to as easily as he lied to me. But when I opened the door, all of that vanished. She looked wrecked, eyes red, face puffy, hands trembling. She wasn't my enemy. She was my sister in betrayal. We fell into a hug the moment we saw each other, 2 strangers who understood each other more deeply than anyone else in the world. She stepped inside and scanned the house. My living room, my family photos, my children's artwork on the walls. A life she never knew existed. And when her eyes landed on a picture of Marcus holding our kids, something inside her cracked. "He has pictures just like these in our house," she whispered. "Family photos of me, him, and our son, Like we're his real family. We are his real family, I said softly. Both of us are. That's the problem, I told her. We both are. We sat together in the living room, going over the plan one last time. No screaming, no chaos, no emotional breakdowns. When Marcus walked through that door, we were going to stay calm, show him the evidence, and let him try. Try! To explain the impossible. There was no explanation good enough, no excuse that could make this right. But I wanted to watch him try. I wanted to see the panic spread across his face the moment he realized his lies had finally caved in on him. The hours moved like molasses. We kept checking the clock, checking our phones, jumping at every little noise. Finally, 7:15. A car pulled into the driveway. The engine shut off. Footsteps approached the front door. A key slid into the lock. And then he walked in. Marcus stepped inside, holding a bouquet of flowers. Cheap ones, the kind you snag last minute from a gas station. He had that familiar smile on his face, the same one that had fooled both of us for years. "Babe, I'm home. Where are you?" "In the living room," I said, keeping my voice steady. He walked in, still smiling, until he saw Danielle sitting on the couch. The change in his face was instant. The smile evaporated. The blood drained from his skin. The flowers slipped from his hand and hit the floor. "What?" he stuttered, eyes darting between us. "What is this? What's going on?" I stood up slowly, eyes locked on him. "Marcus, I think you know Danielle, your other wife, the one you married 3 years ago, the mother of your other child." His mouth opened, but no sound came out. For the first time in his life, Marcus Thompson, the master manipulator, the smooth talker, was speechless. Danielle stood too. "Hi, husband," she said, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "Surprised to see me?" He backed up against the wall, hands raised like he was being arrested. "Listen, this isn't what it looks like. I can explain. Just give me a second." "Oh, it's exactly what it looks like," I said. "Two wives, two families, two kids named Marcus Jr. Years of lies, years of betrayal. What exactly is there to explain?" He began stammering, trying to string together a sentence, reaching for anything that might soften the blow. "It's complicated," he said. "My life, my situation. You don't understand. I love both of you. I never meant to hurt anyone." "You love us," Danielle shot back with a hollow laugh. "You love us so much you lied to our faces every day? You love us so much you made us feel special while treating us like options?" She stepped closer. "That's not love. That's manipulation. That's abuse." The folder of evidence sat on the coffee table. I picked it up and threw it at him. Papers exploded across the floor. Bank statements, flight itineraries, text messages, screenshots. Proof of every lie he'd ever told. "That's years of deception," I said. "Every secret, every trip, every dollar you stole. We have proof of all of it. You're not talking your way out of this. The game is over." He looked at the papers scattered around his feet. And right there, right in front of us, something inside him broke. The mask he had worn for so long finally cracked. His shoulders sagged. His eyes dropped. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to go so far. I never meant to hurt you." "Sorry?" I snapped, the rage boiling in my chest. "Sorry doesn't even scratch the surface. You stole years of my life, our lives. You lied to your children. You lied to her. You lied to everyone." What happened next was a blur: accusations, tears, questions, the truth spilling out in broken pieces. Marcus tried everything. He blamed his childhood. He blamed his fear of commitment. He blamed his need to be loved. He even tried to blame us. "If you had been a better wife, don't you dare," Danielle cut in, stepping right into his face. "Don't you dare blame us for your choices. You built this mess. You lied. You cheated. You chose every single part of this. This is on you." He dropped to his knees, literally fell onto them, and begged. begged for forgiveness, begged for another chance, begged us not to leave him. It was pathetic. The confident, charming man we once loved was gone, replaced by a trembling, desperate shell. And standing there watching him fall apart, I felt nothing. Not pity, not anger. Just a cold, heavy emptiness where my love for him used to be. Then we brought up Jasmine. The moment her name left my mouth, his head snapped up. Real fear entered his eyes. He didn't deny it, didn't defend it, didn't even look surprised. He just closed his eyes and nodded, like he had been waiting for this moment to come crashing down on him. "How many others?" Danielle demanded. "Is it just the three of us? Or are there more women out there? More families? More lies?" "Just you three," he whispered. "I swear, just you three." But his word meant nothing. His whole life had been one long lie. For all we knew, there were women in every city he'd ever visited, each one believing she was the only one. Hours passed. By the end, Danielle and I were emotionally drained. We told Marcus to leave, to get out of the house and go anywhere else, because he wasn't welcome here anymore. He tried to argue, tried to claim it was his house too, but one look at our faces told him not to test us. He packed a bag with shaking hands and walked out with his tail between his legs. After he was gone, the house fell silent. Danielle and I sat there together, exhausted, broken, emptied out. We had confronted him. We had stood united. But victory didn't feel like victory. It felt like rubble, like the ruins of our lives were scattered around us, waiting to be picked up piece by painful piece. "What now?" she whispered. I looked at the front door where Marcus had disappeared. "Now," I said, "we take everything from him. Everything he had, everything he loved. We were going to take it all. And we were going to make damn sure he never did this to anyone again." The months that followed were pure fallout. Danielle and I both filed for divorce within a week of the confrontation. We hired lawyers, real sharks, people who specialized in cases involving fraud, infidelity, and men who thought they were smarter than everyone else. And Marcus? He had a lot to answer for. The first move was reporting his expense report fraud to his company. Turns out, stealing from a pharmaceutical corporation is a fast track to unemployment. Within 2 weeks, Marcus was fired. No severance, no letter of recommendation. Just a cardboard box, a security escort, and a long walk of shame. Then came the legal chaos. 2 divorces in 2 states, custody battles, asset division, and the cherry on top: bigamy. His marriage to Danielle wasn't even real since he was still legally married to me. She was devastated, but legally, it actually worked in her favor. She could go after him for years of fraudulent marriage. I got the house. I got primary custody. I got child support that would be automatically garnished from whatever scraps of income he managed to find. And the judge? The judge took one look at the evidence and practically recoiled. Marcus didn't get an ounce of sympathy. Danielle got a good settlement too: alimony, child support, and a restraining order that kept Marcus 500 feet away from her and their son. She moved to Memphis and rebuilt her life piece by piece. Last I heard, she was thriving. As for Jasmine, the Birmingham girlfriend, we never contacted her. But news spreads, and I have no doubt she eventually learned exactly who Marcus was. I hope she ran far. Marcus tried everything to wiggle out of the hole he dug. He begged, he pleaded. He wrote long, dramatic messages claiming he was a changed man. He dragged his family into it, trying to weaponize guilt. He even showed up at my mother's house once, unannounced, demanding to see the kids. My brother handled that by threatening to call the police. And then, when begging didn't work, he tried threats. He said if we went through with the divorces, he would ruin our lives, drag us through the mud, fight for full custody. But threats from a man with no job, no money, and no reputation. They're empty. Just the desperate noise of someone who finally realized they weren't untouchable anymore. 6 months after that 3 a.m. phone call, the final court date arrived. I walked into that courtroom, still carrying the weight of everything he'd done. I walked out a free woman. It's been a year now. A year since the call that shattered my world and forced me to rebuild it from the ground up. And somehow, I'm doing better than I ever thought I could. My kids are thriving. They struggled at first, trying to understand why Daddy wasn't coming home. But with therapy, love, and patience, they've adjusted. They still see Marcus during supervised visits, something I insisted on. But our home is peaceful now. No more lies, no more excuses, no more feeling like something was wrong, but not knowing what. I started my own business 8 months ago, a consulting firm that's growing every single day. For years, I put my dreams on hold for Marcus's career. Now I'm finally building something of my own. And it feels good. It feels right. Danielle and I still talk, believe it or not. The woman I was supposed to hate has become one of my closest friends. Surviving the same nightmare bonds you in ways that are hard to explain. She's engaged now. To a good man. One phone, one address, one life. Exactly what she deserves. And Marcus? Last I heard, he's living with his mother in a small apartment across town. No job, no savings, no family. All those years building his empire of lies. And he ended up with nothing. Sometimes I almost feel sorry for him. Almost. But then I remember the betrayal, the manipulation, the wasted years, and any sympathy disappears instantly. He still tries to reach out sometimes. Birthday cards for the kids, messages I never answer. Claims he's changed, that he's in therapy. Maybe he is. But that's not my concern anymore. My energy doesn't go to him. I'm not dating yet. The trust issues run deep, and healing takes time. But I'm working on myself, for myself. And one day, when I'm ready, I'll open my heart again. To someone deserving of it. For now, I'm content. I'm a mother, a businesswoman, a survivor. He tried to break me. I bent, I cracked, I nearly shattered. But I did not break, and I never will. And if you're watching this, going through something that feels impossible, hear me clearly. Trust your gut. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't ignore the red flags the way I did. Don't let love blind you to reality, because the truth always finds a way to the surface. And when it does, you want to be ready, not blindsided like I was. And let me say this loud and clear. If you find out your partner is cheating, the other woman is not your enemy. Most of the time, she's a victim too. She's been fed the same lies, promised the same fairy tale, manipulated in the same ways. Instead of tearing each other apart, we need to lift each other up. We need to turn our pain into power and direct it toward the person who actually caused the damage. And finally, I want you to know this. You can survive this. It won't feel like it at first. When you're sitting in the middle of the wreckage, the betrayal feels unbearable. The heartbreak feels suffocating. And the future? It feels impossible to imagine. But you are stronger than you think. You have the ability to rebuild, to heal, to reclaim your life piece by piece. You will laugh again. You will love again. You will become the version of yourself you were always meant to be. It won't happen in a day. It will be painful. There will be moments when you want to give up. But don't. Keep going. Keep pushing forward. Because on the other side of this pain is a life that belongs fully to you. Free from lies, free from manipulation, free from people who never deserved your heart in the first place. I'm living proof of that. My name is Tiana. I'm 35 years old, and I survived my husband's double life. And now I'm thriving. If this story spoke to you, hit that like button and show me some love. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss the next story. Trust me, I've got plenty more to tell. And if you've been through something like this, if you've been cheated on, lied to, blindsided by someone you trusted, share your story in the comments. Let me know I'm not alone. Let everyone else know you're not alone either. We're healing together. We're supporting each other. We're rising from the ashes side by side. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to my pain and my victory. Thank you for creating a space where I can finally breathe and be honest. Stay blessed, stay aware, and above all, stay true to yourself. Never let anyone make you question your worth. Never settle for anything less than honesty, loyalty, and real love. My name is Tiana, and this was my story. Until next time, take care of yourself. And remember, the truth always comes out. Always.